God bless you, loved ones. Welcome to the Word with Chester. Today we'll continue study in the 9th chapter of the book of 1 Corinthians. I'm so grateful to God for all of you that log on a regular basis. I want you to know how much I love you. I love you with the love of the Lord. Shall we go into our study today? We'll begin our reading today. I'm going to read verse 16, 17, and 18, which was covered in our last session, but then we'll continue. Our actual study starts today in verse 19. Verse 16 reads, "For though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory of, for necessity is laid upon me. Yea, woe is me, woe is unto me, if I preach not the gospel." Well, this lets me know that in Apostle Paul's life and also in many of ours, we don't have an option to whether we're going to preach the gospel or not. God lays this on our heart and puts it in our spirit, and there's a drive to do it. There's a must to do it, and you never will be complete unless you do and obey what God tells you to do. Let me reread that. "For though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory of." I don't have anything to glory of, the apostle is saying, "for necessity is laid upon me. Yea, woe is me, if I preach not the gospel. Woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel." Woe, that word, it comes with destruction. Woe. So Apostle Paul said possibly destruction would follow him if he did not preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. "Woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel, for if I do this willingly," if I do what God told me to do willingly, "I have a reward. But if against my will, a dispensation of the gospel is committed unto me." A dispensation of the gospel. When you speak that word dispensation, that means a whole new era. Well, let me let you know something. There's sometimes God has a greater calling on our lives than we can even fathom ourselves. And if we did not do what God had commanded us to do, well, how many people would be lost? Or how many people would not hear the truth and end up in a devil's hell? And then it is, woe is me if I preach not the gospel. All of those souls will be laid at our hand, at our charge, because we did not do what God had told us to do. Well, in verse 18, "What is my reward then? Verily that when I preach the gospel, I make the gospel of Christ without charge. I don't bring anything against the gospel of Christ. When I preach the truth, it helps people, and there's nothing can be said against the gospel of Christ, that I abuse not my right in the gospel." And you need to read, go back to our last session and talk about what Apostle Paul is saying. I have abused not my rights, and all the rights that he spoke about that he had. I had a right to receive of you. I had a right to receive a part of my a part of my living from even the labor of my hands. Well, shall we go into verse 19? "For though I am free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all." I'm free from all men, but I have made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more. I'm free. You got to understand, when you know you're free, you're not bound by other people's tradition. You're not bound by the way they think and their mindset, but you make yourself servant to all, that I might gain the more. Sometimes we don't do a whole lot of things that we can do, or that it may be permissible for us to do, so that we can gain the more. What is it that we don't have to do everything we want to do, but when you get the mindset that I am not going to do some things so I can win the more, or I will do some things so I can win the more. Please excuse my coughing. In verse 20, "And unto the Jews I came as a Jew." When I dealt with the Jewish folks, I was acting like a Jew. I came as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. "To them that are under the law, as under the law, not being myself under the law." No, I wasn't being myself under the law, because I have tasted this freedom. I know what grace is all about. I know what living for Jesus is all about and walking in the Spirit of God. I know what that's all about. To them that are under the law, as under the law, I walk like I was under the law when I was with them. That not being myself under the law, wasn't being myself that I might gain them that are under the law. Well, I had my freedom, but when I was with them, I walked like they walk and I talk like they talk. I didn't want to be a stumbling block to them. I wanted to win them and gain them. Shall we read verse 21? To them that are without law, as without law, being not without law to God. I got to read that slow because I want you to grasp it. To them that are without law, as without law. When I was with the Jews, I walked under their law and act like them so that I could win them. And to them that are without law, talking about the Gentile folks, those that are without law, as without law. I walked in a way so that I could win them, being not without law to God. I was with them as without law, but I was not without the law of God, but under the law to Christ, that I might gain them that are without law. I hope you grasp that. When I was with the Jews, I act like them, I talk like them, so that I can win them. And then when I was with the people without law, I acted in a way. No, I was not without the law of God. I was thinking and I was under the law of Christ. Yes, I was under law. I was under the law of Christ that I might gain them that are without law. Can you grasp that? If I acted rigid among folks that did not understand rigidness, how can I win them? And then again, if I act too loose in front of those that are rigid, how in the world can I win them? In verse 22, to the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I am made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. No, that don't mean you got a split personality and you act this way here and you act that way. No, you observe some things here that you may not observe over there. The rigidness of the law, you don't go there when they're that rigid. They will be looking at you funny, and don't fool yourself. Church folks will look at you funny when you're not doing everything that they think you ought to be doing. So you can't act a certain way around those rigid folks. Under the same token, around the folks that are more relaxed, if you go there rigid, you make them uncomfortable. And many won't come because you acting the way you act in their presence. Shall we read verse 23? And this I do for the gospel's sake, that I might be partakers of it with you. I do it for the gospel's sake, not for my own sake, but I want to be partakers with you. Shall we continue reading? Know ye not that they who run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run that you may obtain. Run that you may obtain. That's pretty plain. We just not too long ago watched the Olympics. It was broadcast worldwide. All of the Olympians there, and many of them had strove for years to get to the point where they are. But let me let you know, only one got the gold medal in each event. Yes, there was a silver and a bronze, all that good stuff was given, but only one of them in each event got the gold medal, unless there was a team sport, and then all of them in that team sport got the gold medal. So run that ye may obtain. Shall we read verse 25? Apostle Paul is opening something up here. And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. They're temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible crown. What was I saying? The Olympians, what did they do? They trained for all year long long, and in some of them for many years, to get where they are. They had to discipline themselves and temper themselves in all things, have the right diet and do the right amount of exercise and discipline themselves to get the right amount of rest. All of these things was involved to get to where they are. Can you imagine the sacrifice that they were doing just to get the gold medal, and that was corruptible? Well, don't fool yourself. I am not taking from any of that glory that you receive from receiving your medals. I think it's wonderful, but even that is corruptible. It will pass away. But shall we continue reading in verse 26? I therefore so run, not as uncertainly, so fight I, not as one that beateth the air. I gotta read that again. I therefore so run. I run. I'm running for something that is incorruptible. The metals are incorruptible, but we are incorruptible. We're running for something that won't pass away. I therefore so run, not as uncertainly, so fight I, not as one that beateth the air. I'm not just talking and saying things for nothing. Shall we read verse 27? But I keep under my body and bring it under subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. Well, that's an important thing. We have to, although we're preaching others, we have to have the mindset that we're going to receive this incorruptible prize. And we don't want to do the thing that will hinder that incorruptible prize. Well, you got to, let's just examine that word castaway. I don't want to be a castaway. Reread verse 7, and then I'm going to talk about that word castaway. Verse 27. But I keep under my body, I stay under my body, and bring it unto subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. That word castaway is translated from the Greek, adokimos, meaning disapproved. Don't want to be disapproved after I've won other souls to Christ. When I stand before God, I want Him to say, well done. I want to be approved of Him. And don't fool yourself. I hear a lot of folks say that I don't care about what man says about me and all that kind of stuff. Well, in actuality, you do. You would love to have the approval of other men. You would love to have the approval of your peers, those or colleagues or whatever that you want to call them. You want their approval. You don't want them to disapprove of you. Don't fool yourself when they say little mean things and call you everything but a child of God. That hurts, and I ain't nobody. I'm not standing here trying to tell you that stuff don't hurt. You want the approval of your peers, but let me let you know the main approval that you should be seeking for is that of God. You can't get the mindset, I don't care what no one thinks about me. You gotta think about it. You don't want them to think bad of you and evil of you. If they do, you want it to be unjust. I don't care how good you are, there's going to be someone that finds fault with you, and then I don't care how bad you are, there's going to be somebody that likes what you do. Well, you got to understand this. We're not trying to seek the approval of everybody down here in this realm, but we do want God to approve of us. When we stand before Him, we don't want to be disapproved. And when we stand before our peers, we don't want to be disapproved. Well, some of them will disapprove of you. I wonder sometime if they got their facts straight, because number one, they're not supposed to be in judgment over anyone. I know there's some in positions that have to examine matters and look into things, but I'm sure that those that God put in that category, they have the spirit of wisdom and they know how to do things. But all of us want to be approved of everybody if possible, but knowing everybody's not going to approve, everybody is not going to like you, you have to seek the approval of God. If you've done what God told you to do, you will be all right. If you've done what God told you to do, you may not win the approval of every man, but everything will be all right because God is pleased. Let me reread it. But I keep under my body and bring it under subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. I'll bring it under subjection. When I'm around the rigid folks that are walking what they call by the law and rigid, won't say nothing wrong, do yak. Everything is circumspect and all that good stuff. You can say it any way you want to. When you get around them, you start doing what they do. You walk that way while you're around them. And then the more casual and the more relaxed, you relax around them so you can win them. I would never tell any of you to go off into a sinful lifestyle or go off into a way of acting, saying the wrong thing and doing the wrong thing. You know what sin is. Don't nobody have to tell you what sin is. You don't enter off into sin, but you do. You can relax around some folks. You don't want to make them uncomfortable. Just under the same token, you don't want to make the rigid one uncomfortable. So when you're with them, you learn how to walk around them. When you're on the other side, you learn how to walk around them. But the main thing, in every category, on the right and on the left, your job is to please God. If you please God, you will please most men. Well, I want you to know I love you, my friends. I love you with the love of the Lord. If you would like to talk to me for any reason, if you would like to ask a question about this ministry or the subject matter, please write me at the Word with Chester Ministries, Post Office Box 200483, San Antonio, Texas, 78220. You can also write me at my, connect with me at my website, www.poemsbychester.com. Remember, I love you, my friends. I love you with the love of the Lord. God bless you.